The following program has been brought to you in part by Sennheiser and the Airline Pilots Association.
Congress is one step closer to passing the FAA Reauthorization bill. The Transportation Security Administration launches new software on its screening machines. Airline ticket prices may be going up again, and Canadian transport authorities make traveling a little easier. These stories and more coming up in this edition of the Flight Deck. Hello, I'm Sharon Varab. Welcome to the Flight Deck. When the U.S. Senate passed the FAA Reauthorization bill this February by a vote of 87-8, it made significant progress on the long-stalled legislation, which has been extended 17 times. The bipartisan bill would provide a stable funding source for FAA operations and movement towards next-gen. This includes critical provisions on runway safety, weather research, safety requirements on unmanned aerial systems, authorization for the Human Intervention Motivation Study, and alternative fuels research. It also includes several ALPA-supported measures, including the IRA rollover language proposed by Senators Maria Cantwell and Johnny Isakson, and an amendment by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse to make shining a laser at an aircraft cockpit a federal crime. Perhaps of equal importance are two provisions that are not included in this bill. First, an amendment offered by Senator James Inhofe to carve out supplemental air carriers from the pending flight and duty time rules. And second, a proposal by Senator Jim DeMint to require airline management to monitor cockpit voice recordings for disciplinary purposes. On February 16th, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee approved a similar bill. The two versions will need to be reconciled, but this sets the stage for a proposal to be included in the final legislative product that will eventually be signed into law. Frequent flyers are paying increasingly more taxes, and President Obama's budget could pile on even more. Released in mid-February, the president's budget would raise the passenger facility charge to $7, up from $4.50 per flight, to offset cuts in airport grants, according to the Associated Press. Airlines are fighting this line item in the budget, which amounts to a $2 billion tax increase on the traveling public. The Air Transport Association says the estimated tax portion of a $300 round-trip domestic ticket is now nearly 20%, or $61. This is up from 13% in 1992 and 7% in 1972. In February, the Transportation Security Administration started testing new software on its advanced imaging technology machines at 3 airports: Las Vegas McCarran, Atlanta Hartsfield, and Washington National. The agency said that this upgrade will enhance security while strengthening privacy protections. The new software will automatically detect potential threat items and indicate their location on a generic outline of a person that will appear on a monitor. The outline will be identical for all passengers, and should it detect a threat, that traveler will go through additional screening. Air travelers in Canada will see increased efficiencies in security as well. The Ministers of Transport and State recently announced changes to airport screening that will make it more convenient for passengers while still maintaining a high level of security. Thanks to a review by the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority, air travelers can now bring small scissors and tools that are no longer than 6 centimeters in their carry-on baggage. Navigating the security lines will also be easier with new equipment and lane configurations that increase passenger flow and automatically separate suspicious bags from cleared bags. There will also be new dedicated lanes for families and those with special needs, equipped to handle bigger and bulkier items like strollers. It's Economics 101, supply and demand. According to the Associated Press, U.S. airlines are back to making money because they're flying less. By grounding planes and eliminating flights, airlines have cut costs and pushed fares higher. But they'll have to add capacity in the years to come. As the global economy rebounds, travel demand is rising and airplanes are as full as they've been in years. In fact, the Federal Aviation Administration predicts that air travel will more than double in the next 20 years. The FAA says U.S. airlines will reach the 1.3 billion passengers per year mark by 2021. Today, that number stands at 713 million. JetBlue recently signed an agreement with the FAA that will allow the airline to fly more precise satellite-based flights from Boston and New York to Florida and the Caribbean beginning next year. Under the agreement, the FAA will equip as many as 35 of JetBlue's A320 aircraft with ADS-B avionics over the next 2 years. This will cost $4.2 million. The agreement could lead to the development of 2 new and shorter routes to the Caribbean, from Boston, New York, and Washington. The FAA will collect valuable next-gen data by observing and conducting real-time operational evaluations of ADS-B on revenue flights. The agency says that next-gen is a critical investment in the future of the U.S. transportation system that will help improve the travel experience for passengers and give airlines more flexibility to find the most efficient way to reach their destinations. Have you seen these codes popping up lately? We'll tell you what they are and how to use them after the break.
From the first time I boarded a commercial plane as its pilot, I've embraced the responsibility I have to the safety of my passengers and crew. And I have the best flight gear, even the headset certified for commercial duty. It lets me concentrate on the task at hand, making this the safest flight my passengers will ever have.
The feature-packed HMEC 26 provides long wearing comfort and more than 18 dB of noise reduction. Try the HMEC 26 on your next flight and hear the difference for yourself.
Hi, I'm Paul Friedman from Alexandria, Virginia, and I'd like to ask a pilot, due to cost cutting in the industry, are planes being maintained as well as they have been in the past?
Paul, federal regulations dictate the maintenance requirements for all aircraft. This includes repairing broken items and also regular inspections. It's illegal to operate an aircraft that is improperly maintained. All airlines are subject to these regulations and requirements regardless of the economic environment. Ultimately, though, the captain is the one who makes a final decision as to whether the aircraft is good to go for that particular flight.
Once you watch this segment, you'll start to notice these two-dimensional barcodes everywhere. Not just for tracking merchandise anymore, these codes make information interactive. Our technology correspondent, Mark Angolia, has more on this.
You may have seen them and not know what they are or what they do. They're QR codes or quick response codes. Think of them as a type of web link in the real world. It's a fast way to learn more about the item in front of you using the camera on your phone. QR codes were created by a car manufacturer in 1994 and are common in Japan and Europe. Only recently have they caught on in the United States. You can find QR codes on just about anything: magazines, business cards, or flyers, or even clothes, tattoos, billboards, buses, or even the side of a building. I just recently saw a QR code used in place of a ticket at the airport. When scanned, QR codes can link to simple text, show videos, documents, or web pages on your phone. ALPA started using QR codes in the January-February edition of Airline Pilot magazine. When you scan the QR code on the contents page of the March edition, it takes you to an electronic version of the magazine. Or scan the code on page 29 to watch a video of some of ALPA's newest leaders.
Being at this convention has shown me, or opened my eyes to a great deal of resources that ALPA has.
To start using QR codes, you'll need to download and install a free QR code reader app to your phone. There are many to choose from, but some are better than others. After you launch the application, it will activate your phone's camera. Now, just scan the QR code with your phone. With some apps, you simply need to hover over the QR code to scan. Others you will need to push a button. Once the code is recognized, it'll take you to wherever that code was programmed to take you. We are just scratching the surface on how QR codes will be used in the future, but I guarantee you, now that you know what they are, you'll start to see them everywhere. In fact, later on the flight deck, we'll tell you how you can enter to win using a QR code. I'm Mark Angolia on the flight deck.
Pilot leaders from the Airline Pilots Association played a round of golf to make great strides in the fight against childhood cancer. Hosted by the Delta Pilots Charitable Fund, the charity golf tournament raised money for the Rally Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to raising awareness and funds for pediatric cancer research to find better treatments with fewer long-term side effects and ultimately cures. More than 50 pilots from ALPA's member airlines helped raise $36,000. And some of their airlines pitched in too. Both Alaska and Delta Airlines donated tickets to raise money for the kids.
We're out here playing golf today to raise money in a charity event for the Raleigh Foundation, which benefits childhood cancer research. We have presenting sponsor of Sabre Airline Solutions, along with the Delta Pilots Charitable Fund, in cooperation with the Airline Pilots Association, doing all we can to raise as much money as we can and have fun.
The Delta Pilots Charitable Fund matched donations received dollar for dollar up to $10,000, illustrating the many ways airline pilots give back to their communities. If you or someone you know goes above and beyond for others, either in your community or in the cockpit, we'd like to know about it. Please email us at FlightDeck@alpa.org. Everyone here on the Flight Deck would like to thank you, our viewers, for the feedback on this program. We received many positive remarks on the show, along with a couple of corrections and suggestions. For example, Randy from Toronto says, "It would be appreciated if ALPA would indicate that the Fit for Flight applies to Canadian pilots, or if there are differences." We checked in with Dr. Snyder and he said yes, the medication advice from last month's segment applies to Canadian pilots as well. ALPA Facebook fan Scott Patz wanted to know if the Flight Deck would be available on iTunes. And the answer is yes. Starting with this episode, ALPA will release the Flight Deck as a video podcast on iTunes. Just visit our website at flightdeck.alpa.org for details on how you can tune in. Now to the segment you've all been waiting for, the Flight Deck's Watch and Win question. But first, I want to congratulate Carl Peacher, who was randomly selected from the correct entries as the winner from last month's episode. Carl will be entered into the grand prize drawing along with 5 other winners. Now for today's question. As Mark mentioned, this Watch and Win will be interactive. We're asking you to put your new skills to the test. Today's question is, what's inside this QR code? Just scan the QR code with your phone and you'll get the answer. Then go to the website at flightdeck.alpa.org to submit the answer for a chance to win a Sennheiser headset valued at $850. If you're watching this program on your phone, don't worry. We'll post the QR code on the website too, so you can scan it from there. We'll also post links to QR code reader applications for your phone, since you'll need one of those if you don't already have one. Thank you for watching the Flight Deck. If you have any feedback about this episode or future stories you would like us to cover, please let us know at flightdeck@alpa.org. Thanks again, and I'll see you next month here on the Flight Deck.